What's going on? My name's Luke. Welcome to the video. Now, I know I usually talk in my car, but recently I've been just decompressing every day. And, there's plenty of things I can talk about, repeat myself, talk about the same problems that happen again and again. But I like to think big picture, And I've got a couple things kind of wrapped up in my head right now. First off, I don't want to cook right now. It's 7 p.m. I haven't had dinner yet. I don't even want to cook. It's a Friday night. I got ramen. I got egg wraps that I could make. Honestly, I don't have any food. And while there were external circumstances that may have been a possibility for me to obtain food, I'm gonna have to make it myself now. But that's not really a big deal. I'm really just procrastinating making dinner. It shouldn't be that bad. It won't take me very long. I just don't want to do it. But I've been watching a little bit of Jujutsu Kaisen, finished up with Solo Leveling, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, El Camino, the whole shebang. I'm watching all these different shows, and I'm really drawn to the gray area, that middle line between right and wrong, that is so fascinating to me. And I think that's because that's where the true decisions lie. You know what's right, you know what's wrong, but it's that middle area that you just don't know. And it's such a problem. I mean, for people that are morally gray, it completely just, you could neutralize that whole possibility. It's not a problem to you, This world is ran by the most heinous people. And it's truly disgusting, but that's the way the world works. And whether you're the CEO of a big company or maybe just a sick guy, a terrible manager, a terrible friend, a really bad coworker, a guy who keeps jumping from job to job because he can't work at a job long enough without pissing off his boss because he threatened to punch the boss and use violence on him. There's a lot of fascinating people in this world, but there's also a lot of insufferable people, And that's the thing, is that you've got incredible kind virtue, right? There's this personality type that is super kind, right? Super positive, glass half full kind of person, but they get stuff burned on them. And what I mean is, they will roll over for manipulators and liars and deceitful, negative people. I mean, they will just completely roll over and take it. They'll accept it. They'll take it to heart because their heart is so big that it's such a large target that anyone that manipulates them, lies to them, it just completely destroys them. And they put the pieces back together, but eventually their big heart ends up being torn. And once it's torn, then they become a manipulator themselves. It's just a matter of breaking them. And that's what's scary, because you've got nice people or good people that go around their whole lives and they are a light to others. They are an inspiration. They're that positive energy. They can be annoying. Oh my gosh, please. Okay, I got it. It's that constant feeling of happiness that you're jealous of, that you're envious of. And you're like, just come on, How are you so happy when I'm so angry? And I understand that now, is that it's not just a burden for others to bear, where they're just mad that they're not you. They're jealous of your happiness. And maybe they start acting out on you. They start bullying you or or taking out that aggression. You know, maybe you like baseball cards and Pokemon card collecting, and you get a lot of joy out of that, and someone tries to make fun of you for it. And don't get me wrong, we are all guilty of every sin and every good thing and bad thing that comes along. It just depends on what degree that you are. Don't get me wrong, I have been bullied and I have bullied. And I am deeply regretful for the times that I have kind of pushed people a little bit, pushed their buttons, pissed them off, annoyed them, just kind of downplayed who they are. And of course, it's ego, right? If you are not smart, if you're not physically strong, and if you're not, completely sure of yourself as a person, especially in youth, you take it out on others. You push others down to make yourself feel better. It's not just a simple bullying thing because you like it. It's because you feel weak as a person. And if you feel weak as a person, you've got to make yourself stronger. And the only way to do that is to put others down below you so that you can feel better about yourself. But that's not right. That's not right, and it won't work. You know what I mean? It's not morally just, and it doesn't work long term. Inevitably, you are a piece of garbage when you do that. And it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't make you any happier. Nothing really gets accomplished. That being said, I am not completely perfect. I have made mistakes. And I continue to do them. I'm trying to be a better person. But that's where the line shifts, right? Because I have two personalities that are very well defined in my being, in my soul. One is that ego, that narcissism, that fueled by rage and anger and irritation. It's just, I'm very good at something, I pick it apart, I'm obsessed over it, and anyone that can't live up to those expectations is pathetic to me. And I am completely indifferent to them. I'm witty, I push other people's buttons, and I laugh at all the problems in the world. And then the other side, you've got that kind of positive, happy-go-lucky, maybe joking a little bit too much, and then I'll just shut down. I'll just be quiet. Because that's the problem, is that if I'm too witty and I'm too funny and I'm too trying to making jokes, I make jokes and I make myself laugh, but inevitably I do kind of push others. I push a line that shouldn't be crossed, and inevitably I piss people off, I annoy them, I irritate them, and it makes me feel like garbage. But then if I go on the other side, where I just stick to myself, isolate myself, don't make any jokes, don't say anything, just focus on my work, then I get bored, then I get anxious, then I get irritated more, because I have no output, there's no release of that energy, it's just stored. And at first it's calm. I've got an earbud in, I'm doing my work, I'm calm, I'm collected, I'm focused. But then it starts turning sour. And I think that this is a great analogy here, is that if you have a big dog, a German Shepherd, a Pit Bull, even a Husky, you have a massive dog that can't just run a couple laps around the house. No, it needs work. You've got to take your big dog out, a Pit Bull or whatever, and you've got to go run 2 miles with them every day. And even then, they still got energy. So you got to keep pushing them. You got to keep telling them to sit for treats and everything. You've got to train them. And if you don't, their mind gets bored. They start getting aggressive over their food. You know, You get a little bit too close to their food one day after feeding them, and oh, got your hand. Now they're food aggressive. Now they have all this energy, this angst, and while they know they've never had their food stolen before, they get this anxiety around them, and they get hostile. And I think this is a great way of putting it, is that if you don't expend your physical energy, your emotional energy, your mental energy, if you do not, hell, even your soul energy, your relationship with your God, with religion, with your spiritual values, if you believe in that garbage, but I do think that is a fourth dimension to your character, is your spirituality, your mental, your emotional, and your physical. And if you don't expend those energies, those constructs of your character, they start to rot and become poisonous to yourself. And you start developing this anger, this frustration, because you can't let it out. If you never go outside, if you never go on a run, you never do any physical fitness, maybe that physical energy is let out and you punch a wall, maybe you punch a person, maybe you start fights out of nowhere. Your mental energy, if you don't use it properly for a job, a career, a hobby, what do you start doing? Thinking about crime, thinking about anarchy, thinking about manipulating others or lying to them. Emotional. If you don't let out your emotions and experience them with someone that you trust and value, your emotions start pulling you apart, and you start shooting between them all at once in a shotgun effect, back and forth and back and forth. Your emotions fluctuate and you have no concept of how to keep them in a balance. And when that happens, what are you to do? Spiritual. Maybe this isn't as defined, I guess you could say, but hypothetically, if you don't have any spiritual value, or you don't have a understanding of or meaning in your life, that existentialism will tear your soul apart. You know, that idea that why am I here? What am I here for? What's the meaning of life? Why do I even bother living? You know, all of those questions pile up and you just start giving up. You don't care at your job anymore. You don't even enjoy the foods that you eat. You don't even enjoy the TV shows that you watch, or the games that you play, or the people that you spend time with. And it all sours in your mind. That's the real problem, isn't it? That's the thing. You know? And don't get me wrong, I say these things because I go through them. I don't know what I'm doing in my life yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. But, you know, we gotta keep trying. Can't give up yet. No, we cannot. So, I do a little bit every day. And part of that is talking to people, getting to know people. I don't care if you work at McDonald's, the library, a hospital, a bank. Money, social interactions, and the flux of trade is how our society is built. Capitalism, baby. It's how humanity runs itself. Take, for example, this. If you were to find an uninhabited area of, let's say, 100 miles by 100 miles square foot, there's water falls, there's a couple different plants, maybe some wild fruits and wild berries. You don't know anything about them, but I mean, let's completely reset. No phone, no nothing. What do? You have to build a shelter, but you have no concrete, so the next time a hurricane or tornado comes around, it's destroyed. And you could eventually make something that would be able to stand up to it, but how long? How much time for one person to do that? Food sources. Are you going to hunt a hog once per week, butcher it, freeze it, somehow preserve it for the whole week, and then also for winter, basically have a stockpile of food for 2 months straight with no plastic containers around to put stuff in and keep waterproof? The reality is that we've come so far as a species because of our innovation and our ability to delegate to others. Your ability to go to the store, to get gas, to get a car, to go to a job that's an hour away drive, that would be a 2 or 3 day walk by foot there and back. The ability to have so many resources pooled together by the entire human race into your fingertips, as long as you have the funds, as long as you have the social interactions, the ability to make money for yourself, to sustain yourself within that system, that cycle. That is our circle of life as humans. Other animals, they only live, make some babies, eat, try to stay alive for as long as possible, and eventually die. Either by another animal's hand, by natural selection, by famine during a terrible winter. It's inevitable, it's nature. But we completely disobey nature and we say, screw that. We're going to create our own cycle. And that's the thing. What cycle do you want to be a part of? Right? If you want to be a part of this cycle and you want to do well in it, you have to understand that the more money you make, the less others have. You have to leverage yourself above others. That's not to say that you completely take away from others. I'm not talking about stealing candy and dollar bills from babies. I'm talking about you have to do so well that you outcompete your peers. And I'm not just talking about career here. I'm talking about your job, your passion, your hobbies, your side jobs as hobbies, things like that. All of these little things, you have to do better than your peers if you want the value to get from it. Because in the wild, if you don't hunt properly, you die. If you're not hunting the hog first before the other lion, you're dead. So you have to hunt it first. You have to be the best. And if you're not the best, you're the second best. Maybe you'll get the second amount of money. I'm not saying money, we're not enslaved to money in this world. But I will tell you that without money, your life becomes a lot more challenging. And I've seen it firsthand. I work at a hospital. I've seen the stories. I've heard the stories. If you have more money, your problems just go away. Yes, you could have so much money that you're not responsible with it, that you abuse drugs, maybe you cheat on your spouse, maybe you got a couple different spouses. What's up with that? Maybe you got way too many kids for your own good. Maybe you don't have any kids. Maybe you have some health problems that money can't solve. There's so many problems in this world that are, that are not directly related to money. However, money is what makes our world go round. Or at least in the United States. Maybe in some other countries they really just don't care. But I'm pretty sure that even in a communist country, guess who has all the power? The people in government. So right now we have the government and we have the big companies and the people at the tops of those companies in power, right? The 1%ers. But in a communist country, what do you think is there? Not everyone can be equal. There's no such thing. If you have everyone equal, if you ever watch one of those Survivor shows where they put a group of people on an island and say everyone is part of this wonderful, happy-go-lucky group, what happens? They tear each other apart or they pick a leader. There's only two options, which means there's someone that is higher skilled than others that people look up to and respect. Even without money involved, there is always a social hierarchy there. People respect your skill set. You have to have skills. You have to maybe even create skills. You have to have a natural skill for a specific thing. You have to have knowledge in something that makes you more valuable than others. It's inevitable. If you want to provide value, if you want to be a leader, if you want to progress through the natural state of life that we have in this world, you have to be really good or the best. There is no other option. So, when people do not completely embody their ambitions, it's utterly pointless to keep going. In those Survivor shows, they figure it out real quick. There is no such thing as no leader. And it's not to say that the leader is like a benevolent dictator. No. But they are fair, they're respected, they're skilled. They piss some people off sometimes, but at the end of the day, they have the group's interests in their heart. But take, for example, this. In a communist country, this is a little history lesson. First of all, do you know one that's been perfect ever? A socialist country, a communist country? Never. No. But I'll tell you what. Imagine, right, we have this hierarchy, right? Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, whatever. The billionaires, the one percenters, they've got all the money, right? But there's still a hierarchy. I still have money. You still have money. The guy that lives on the street, he's got a little bit of money, not a lot. What happens if all of those billionaires give away their money, they divvy it up, and everyone gets money? Everyone becomes equal. Everyone has, let's say, $1 million to their name. If everyone has $1 million, that means that money has no construct. So, we have to wait for that money to circulate around. And what's going to happen is it's going to circulate around and eventually make its way up back to the one percenters within a year or two. Inevitably, if you have a bunch of money to spend, you go on Amazon, you buy a fancy car, you buy a really nice house. Now you buy a house that's really expensive because their demand, the supply and the demand is everything. Just like when they say they're going to increase the minimum wage for minimum wage workers in the United States, it's mind-boggling to me. Because yes, we need to adjust for inflation, but we should let it happen naturally. If you want to work for $11 an hour, even though the average house is super expensive right now, great. Then you work at McDonald's. Then you work at whatever. That's what you do. But if you work at a bank, if you work in real estate, whatever, you have chosen a better career path. You have gone to school for a year or two or whatever. You have worked for it, and you have a higher outcome now. But if everyone has a minimum wage, or the one percenters bring down their money for everyone else, and you equal the scales like in a communist or socialist society, what happens? Inevitably, the money goes back up because you can take away someone's money, but you cannot take away their experience, their value, their skill set. Inevitably, they will get that money back. I promise you that. So, it's not just about acquiring money. It's about acquiring a skill set that is so valuable to people that no matter what, they will value that and get you money. You will make money from good financial decisions, from good business decisions, from being beneficial to those around you, providing value to others in exchange for goods and services. That is how the world operates. Just like if you were in the wild and one guy hunts and the other one gathers berries, one guy over here, he doesn't have any protein, and this guy over here has no micronutrients because he's just hunting meat. So if you share, you both get the fruits of the labor. This guy's really good at hunting, but he couldn't find a berry to save his life. He's probably gonna eat a poisonous berry and die. And this guy couldn't hunt to save his life. He's a skinny guy, and he'd probably break his leg, and then he wouldn't be able to do anything, and he'd die. So that coexisting, that exchange of good and services, that is from the beginning of time. Survival. That's how we survive as humans. That's why we're so good at it. I'm really good at this one thing, so I'm going to do this while you do that over there. And inevitably, we're going to exchange money, aka, or trade or money or whatever, for these goods and services for the betterment of our future mutually. It's mutually beneficial. But what happens in a communist country? I know, one more thing here. You've got low, poor class, higher, medium class or mid class or middle class, and then you move up until the 1%. What happens when you equalize that? You have to bring down the middle class and the 1% down to here, all with the bottom with everyone else, and say you cannot make any more money, no matter how good you are, no matter how bad you are, no matter how terrible you are at your job, your skill set, it does not matter. Everyone gets paid the same. I've been in scenarios like that. Whether it's sports in elementary school with participation trophies, or in a special activity in school where, everyone gets a prize, or it's a group effort, but this one guy over here just slacked off on the presentation. But it's okay because everyone gets a B. Now, everyone else got an A in terms of effort, in terms of quality, but this one guy's job was to put the presentation together, and he skipped school for 3 days. So now, everyone that was an A in the group has now been reduced to a B, while this guy who did nothing got a B for doing nothing. That is group teamwork at its worst. And that's what communism is. Eventually, no one cares. No one does any work. Because what's the incentive? You're working your ass off for nothing? You're working your ass off just so that you can beat your coworkers, but at the end of the day, we all make the same amount of money? That's stupid. And we're starting to see that with some of our jobs here. Let's say you work at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or wherever, I don't care. Walmart. Your output means nothing. Your hourly stays the same and all of your coworkers get paid the same. What do? If you stand out, you either gun for a promotion or you're singled out and there's more scrutiny and pressure on you to do the best. And if you don't live up to that pressure, you're inevitably scrutinized for it. Then you have the people that don't have as much output, but they try their best or at least act like it, and they make the same amount as you, except they don't have any of the scrutiny. So inevitably, when they finally decide that they're going to be a little bit better at their job, you did a wonderful job. Whoop, promotion. Are you kidding me right now? A little bit of this applies to my work right now, but not all of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish I was better at my job. I understand that I'm not perfect, but I am really trying to be better. I really am. Little bit by little bit, day by day, I want to be better at my job. I want to be better at my career. I want to have the best skill set I can. because I want to provide value to others so that I can get some money. And it's not about money. I want a house. I want the freedom. I want a couple weeks off out of the year, spend time with family. I want to be able to support a family. Sorry, I feel like I'm hearing something. But that's basically what I'm trying to get to here, is that it is such a problematic balance within all of this. I wanted to make sure we're still live here. Oh. I'm sorry I haven't talked to you in a while. It's just there's so many concepts that I haven't really grasped yet. I mean, there's so many possibilities in my life, I just don't know where to take it. It can be very difficult sometimes to make a decision, you know? I've always had that problem. Whether we're at the ice cream shop and there's 40 different flavors to choose from, I have that decision bias. I've got no clue what to pick. Then I finally decide one. Whether I'm at the store grocery shopping, choosing prices and determining what's the best value and what's the best thing that I want, it's very difficult to make decisions because I'm always trying to find the best outcome. And sometimes you make the wrong call. Even if it's the most minute detail, like losing $1 that you could have saved, or getting something of value that you ended up having to buy again, like a terrible pair of earbuds, and now you've got to spend some more money on new earbuds. Whether you over-invested in a phone and they just came out with a brand new one for the same price, so you just kind of wasted $400. Or whether it's buying a car that loses its value every year, and you should have just bought a used one, and once it craps out, you get a new one. No, you brought a brand new car, and now it loses so much value every year. All these different things. And that sucks. Ooh, I got one. Buying a very expensive watch and then losing it the next day. So now you have to buy the exact same watch again, or you have to buy a cheaper watch and you have to still eat the cost of the original watch, or you get it stolen or whatever, so you end up getting screwed. But if you buy a cheap watch and you're able to get another cheap one later, yes, you get the most value, but you still have a cheap garbage watch. So it's that balance in life that we always try to do in making decisions. It's so hard to do. It's such a intangible probability. It's such a difficult thing to ascertain. It's just the constant struggle of decisions and indecisions, and my indecisiveness, and trying to find a balance between all of it. How do I do my best? How do I stay calm, collected, make a simple joke, but then pull back before it crosses a line? How do I be the best at my job, but not try too hard to the point where my standards are higher, or my scrutiny is higher now that I have more output? Or maybe I just straight up suck at my job and I need to do better. Maybe I have such a decent skill set and speed that when it comes time to the people pleasing and communicating with others, that I struggle. And instead of focusing on that, I focus on the job, and inevitably I make conversational mistakes, and I say the wrong thing to the wrong person, and then I got a complaint, and then I got to deal with that. And that's something that happened this week, is that I knew what I was saying. And I'm pretty sure I said it to the best of my ability. But someone else didn't comprehend me. Some people didn't understand where I was coming from. And with the best intentions in mind, and very educational perspective, it did not matter, because this person did not listen. They did not understand my intentions. And also, I think my wording wasn't advantageous to their comprehension of it, I guess. So inevitably, you say the wrong words to someone in the wrong context, in the wrong area, on the wrong timing, on the worst day that you could. They didn't understand your intentions, and inevitably you get burned. So, if I could tell you anything in this video, it's be cautious. And this isn't paranoia, this is the truth. You gotta watch your back, because no one else will. And I promise you that the smallest mistake, it'll burn you. You're not allowed to make mistakes in this world. You're not even allowed to not make mistakes. You're not allowed to make a kind of verbal error of a mistake. You can't even say that your favorite color is red when you really meant blue, but you actually meant red as a joke. No, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to speak to someone in a certain way and say the wrong word where they misinterpret what you're trying to say. Now, you can't do that. Even if you said everything correctly, if they misinterpret you and walk away, you're done for. That was a mistake. You can't possibly comprehend everyone's incomprehension of what you're trying to say, but you have to prevent against it. Prevent against the stupid. Prevent against the person that doesn't understand your purpose. Today, I had to tell someone that I don't do commissions. I take payments at a hospital, but I don't get commission, and I am not, I am making sure that you know that. First of all, she's a nurse too. What kind of nurse doesn't know that? In the clinical setting, there is no such thing as commission. Believe me. This ain't a phone sales company. I'm not trying to sell you on a stupid mobile plan. I don't make commission, man. I don't make commission at all. And I don't want commission. I'm talking to people about life-altering bills. $30,000, $20,000, $2,000, even $500 or $100. Some people ain't got that. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and I gotta talk to them and say, well, I know the doctor said this, but this is your cost. Now, you can have it billed, you can do whatever you want, man, but this is the cost. I would advise you as a financial counselor that maybe you might want to reschedule this appointment, upgrade your insurance, or maybe just hold off for a little while on this. And people freak out. They get, well, I have to get this done. And I'm like, yeah, man, I understand. It's an x-ray. You want to make sure you're good. Your health is everything. Money is no construct. I get it. Money comes and goes, but your health, that matters. I get it, man. I don't need your sob story. I get it. But the thing is that you have to set yourself up for financial and health success. You have to weigh these options. This is your decision ultimately, but you have to weigh these options in front of you. And the reality of my job is that I tell people the worst news every day. I understand you're here for a procedure from your doctor and you are freaked out right now. You're worried about getting knocked out, anesthesia, this procedure, if you're going to make it out alive. I mean, if you're going to pull through, if everything's going to work out, your family's with you, you're nervous. And on top of that, I got to tell you that if you don't pay up a bill, you're going to go into debt and all this stuff. I've got to tell them this, and it's horrible. It's horrible. I don't want to tell people about this stuff. But inevitably I do. That's what I do. That's my job. It's a terrible career. I mean, it's messed up. The United States healthcare system is messed up. And that's the thing, though, is that it's so rewarding, too, because there's some days that people come in and they go, oh, yeah, I have a $2,000 bill I got in the mail. And I go, no, you don't. Man, they wrote it off. Financial assistance. The charity department took care of it for you. Don't worry about it. Just watch out for next bill. You never know. But, yeah, you lucked out this visit. We're not for profit, so you're good. So, we're not for profit. We'll do stuff like that, but then other bills? No. You gotta pay that out right now. That's the balance that I just don't understand in the United States healthcare system, is that there's a lot of options where we'll just kind of write off the balance and call it a day. And there's a lot of times that you go into debt and your credit score is dropped. It sucks. And that fine line between them can be very confusing for people. Hell, it's confusing for me, and I've been there for 2 years. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, that's all I have to say today. I think I'll talk to you tomorrow, though. You're such a good listener. Anyways, catch you later. I'm gonna make some food.